Hey guys, Dr. Pauly. Today we're going to be working on exercise 5. Exercise 5 shows you basically we're going to do more revolves. They give you a hint here. Typically in most drawings they wouldn't actually give you a hint. You would just have something like this. Now with cylindrical objects, a lot of times what they'll do is that if it's symmetrical, they'll only give you typically two views, okay? They'll give you like a front view and they'll give you a side view. In this case, he's oriented the side view down here, all right? So he's basically cut this in half. And the reason he chose to cut it this way is because he wanted to show the slot, which is right here. If he had done it on a standard view, he would have cut this way and it would have looked like a small circle over here, okay? So, it's just orientation. Basically, you have a front and a side view. This is the natural position for it. This is the way the slot's supposed to be, so that's why it ended up down here instead of over here. And so, again, with a lot of circular or cylindrical objects that are symmetrical, you'll only typically have two views. All right, so we're going to use his hint here, and he'll notice that the basic frame of this in the section view, if you went to the center, which is right here, and you treated this as a solid, it would look like an F. And that's pretty much what he's laid out here. Okay? And that's what we're going to use on the right side to revolve and get this blank. All right? So we're going to use these dimensions here. Now, notice though, even though there's a slot there, we're going to revolve this as a solid. So we're actually going to use this bottom line of it as the point of revolution, or the line of revolution. Okay, which will give us a solid shape. All right, so let's go ahead and start drawing that. Get over there. There we go. So we're going to do a revolve, and I'm going to pick the right plane. And I'm going to take my line tool, and I'm just going to start at the origin, and I'm going to sketch out an F of sorts. Make sure I don't accidentally snap to something I don't need to snap to. And there we go. All right. Make sure everything's horizontal, vertical, and I went straight across and joined there, so now it's a solid shape. So let's go ahead and apply some dimensions to it. All right, so overall it's 3 inches tall, 1 inch wide at the top. So we'll go ahead and plug those in first. So we've got 3, and we've got 1. Okay, I always like to knock out the overall dimensions first before I get in there to the small stuff. All right. So the thickness of this, if you look, is 0.250. All right, 0.250 is the thickness. Okay, and you can look, and it's been, it's shown several times here. 0.25, 0.25 this way, 0.25. So everything's quarter inch, 250 thousandths. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and set this, and this to 250 thousandths right off the bat. So dimension. 250 thousandths, 250 thousandths, and this will be 250 thousandths. All right, notice because when I drew this, I snapped basically in collinear with this. All right, it's not an official collinear, and you'll notice it's still, blue, but that should fix out, once I get some other dimensions on there. And if not, we'll snap it collinear. All right. So Alt-Tab, and let's get the other dimensions here. To the bottom of this is 1.5 inches, and it's 750 thousandths from the back to the front. So from here and here, it's 750 thousandths. And the top, see how that changed? And the top should be 1.50. And there we go. Now, here we go again. It was unofficially snapped there, but I'm going to make it official. So instead of picking a point, I could pick point, and make them vertical, but I'm going to take line, hold control, grab the other line, and I'm going to make them collinear. What that does, it puts both lines on the same common line. And since this line can't move, it's going to move this one over in line with it. So I'm going to make it collinear. And there we go. Fully defined. Remember, you always want everything fully defined. All right, so it's fully defined. We're good. I'm going to exit. And now, unlike the other exercise, the side cover, where we had a center line, and it automatically said, oh, okay, it's got a center line, that's what I'm going to revolve around. In this one, we don't have a center line, And so we actually have to tell it what axis of revolution we want to turn around. Now you can pick any axis here and it's going to revolve around it. You might not like the effect of it, like I could do it this way, but that's not what we want. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select this one because that's obviously the way of rotation we want. I'm just showing you that because to let you know that you can revolve pretty much around anything. So be careful. All right, so we're good. We'll finish that revolution, and now we have our blank for this part. So let's go back and look at what we need to do here. It really looks like the only things we have left is are these half-inch circles, and there's 12 of them, and these quarter-inch circles, which there's 12 of those as well. Notice they all start on the same axis and they get rotated around. So I'm going to show you a shortcut on this, so you don't have to do this one and rotate it. You don't have to do this one and rotate it separately. You can actually do them both together. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, and now to design with purpose means I would go ahead and have this as one cut extrude and this one as another. I could go in and do both of them and cut them and leave it as one cut extrude. But if I need to go back and edit or something like that later on, I need to make sure that those are easily defined. So I'll just do them separately because I'm designing with purpose on this. All right. So I need to put a half-inch hole here. And this is the pattern line, and it has a diameter of 4.5 inches. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do cut extrude. On this surface, now this is important. Don't pick the wrong surface. This is the surface that the holes are going to be on, so that's the surface I'm going to pick. If you pick up here, you're going to have this long cut going through nothing before it hits anything. All right, so center line, and I'm just going to go straight across and snap like so. And then I'm going to draw a circle out this way. It's for construction. Dimension it. Dimension it. 450,000. 4.5. I'm sorry. Enter. And there's the center for that hole. So I'm going to take a circle. Notice all these are construction center lines, so they don't affect geometry. And I'll dimension that to 1/2 inch or 0.5. Now I could come in here and do the next one and put it here and dimension and cut it. It's quicker to do it that way, and there's less features over here. But again, if you're going to design with purpose, you want to make sure that this, if you're just speeding through this and want it done, you can easily do that. But if you want something you can go back and easily edit, you probably want to go ahead and do it this way that I'm doing. So I'm going to finish that. I'm going to go ahead and say up to next, which will take it right to there. We'll say OK, and there's that first hole. Now I'm going to call this cut extrude. I'm just going to rename it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to call this one 0.5 hole. Okay. All right. So now if you ever look at, oh man, where's my 1/2 inch hole? Boom, there it is. Okay. Now I'm going to put my other one on here. So I'm going to extrude cut on this surface. And I need to find out my hole pattern on that. And the hole pattern diameter is 2 inches. So circle from the center. Okay. For construction, select that, dimension it. Oh, I've got to finish the circle. That's what's giving me headaches. All right. 2, enter. Go ahead and get a center line. And we'll go from the center. And I'm just going to stop here because that gives me the point. I'm good. And then I'm going to do a circle right on that point there, dimension it. I think it's 1/4 inch. All right, 250 thousandths. Let's make sure. And it is 250 thousandths. Okay. All right, so there's that. Finish that. Cut up to next. Finish. And there's that hole. Now again, instead of just leaving it called cut extrude 2, I'm going to call it 0.250 hole. Okay, and technically I should probably take this one out to 3 units. So 0.500 500 thousandths hole. All right, and I could rename this as blank or whatever I want to call it. I'm just doing this to show you that how you keep yourself organized, because if you ever get a part from someone else, you don't want to have to sit there and try to figure out what everything is on this, okay? You want to just go through and name things that make sense, so it's easy to decipher. All right, so there's those two. Now, what I am going to do is take a shortcut on the pattern, because there's 12 of them. I could do a pattern per, but since it's even 12, now obviously if I did two separate patterns, because later on the manufacturers or the customer said, or your boss or whatever, said, you know what, instead of 12 on the inside, we only need 6, then I'd have to go back and delete the circle pattern as a whole and redo it twice, okay? If I have them separate and he says we only need 6 on the inside, then I could just pick that one circular pattern, all right? So it's probably best we do it that way. So I'm going to take this 1/2" hole, select it, and I'm going to go over here, and we're in feature mode. I'm going to do circular pattern. Direction, just something that locates that center, equal spacing, 360 degrees. There's 12 of them. And see, the feature and faces is 1/2" hole. Now I could easily go in here because they're on the same starting position. I could easily just go ahead and select this one as well, and that would get them both done. All right. Again, if you're designing with purpose, you probably only want to do one at a time. Okay. So I would just go ahead and say OK on that one, and then I'd pick the 250th. Now, notice my circle patterns down here. I could easily organize this. I could have done the 1/2" hole pattern, and then, 1/2" hole, then done the pattern, then started the 1/4" holes, and that would actually make more sense. Now, what you can do in here is you can actually grab a feature and move it up, okay? And what you do is you click and you hold and you drag up to the feature that you want to be right below, and you let go. Now, because nothing else this is not depending on anything else, nothing else is depending on this for geometry or reference, it goes fairly smoothly. And so I could just double click this, and I can say it's a 1/2" hole pattern. All right. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and do a circular pattern. And 12, everything's good. Only thing I need to do is reselect the center, and I'm going to say OK. Double click that, or there you go. 250 thousandths hole pattern. So there's several ways to do this and complete it. But if you're looking for something that's easy to go back and edit, you want to make sure that you do one feature at a time, basically, or one common feature at a time. All right. And that way you can easily go back and edit if you need to. Now, the only thing we have left is, all we have is this little slot right here, and it's 375 thousandths wide, deep, or technically high. All right, because this is the front view, this is height, and so it's 375 thousandths high, and from center to center, it's 625 thousandths. Notice it's centered though. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another extrude cut on this surface. Notice it rotates it around for me. I'm going to use a slot tool. I'm going to use center point slot, come out a little bit and go up. And let's throw our dimensions on there. So again, it's 375 thousandths high, so 0.375. I don't have to come out here with that, I just did. And then I need center to center, which is 625 thousandths. So center to center, and because it's centered, it's going to automatically fix itself, 625. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to finish that. I'm going to say up to next for the cut, finish, and there we go. We finished exercise 5. Because there's no fillets on here that I see at first glance. No fillets, no chamfers. So yeah, we're good. So exercise 5 is finished.